Yes, I am on. Good morning. So good to be together again on this Sunday. Oh my gracious, how does Sunday happen every single year? What a beautiful day too, right? This is what fall is supposed to be. Sunny, a little crisp, the light shining through those amazing colors, incredible day. And I am so glad that you chose to come here as part of this day. Welcome, 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 everyone. So good to be together. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. My name is Joan Montagnes, where I have the honor and privilege of serving you, this congregation, as minister. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo. We are blessed to be together, and we acknowledge that the land upon which we meet rests on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people, original nations of this land, who continue to call for justice and self-determination. In this church, unless you're speaking from this pulpit at that moment, at this church, we wear our masks over our nose and our mouth because we care for ourselves and because we care for each other. I have a whole lot of announcements for you today because this is becoming the church that is not only alive but thriving through this tail end of a pandemic. In this church, we believe that everyone is good for something. You may be good for bringing a meal to a friend with, say, a broken leg. You may be good for an hour of household chores for a family with a new child. You may be good for giving someone a ride to church. All of us are good for something, and all of us, sooner or later, are in need to be held in love by our congregation. Josette Cunningham coordinates all those things that we are good for with the needs of the members in our congregation. So if you would like to make yourself available for a request for food, household chores, rides to church or elsewhere, Josette will be happy to sign you up after the service to be called upon when a need arises. And she's got a table set up at the garden entrance. Josette, are you here? Yes. There's Josette. Josette's going to wave. And she is our angel, so thank you for that. Now, personally, I don't know about you, but I cannot believe it's November already. And you know what November means? November means that all the holidays are coming. They're going to come like a fire hose, which means it's time to purchase poinsettias and wreaths. Get your orders in. It's a part of our fundraiser. They make fantastic gifts. And if you want to be fully florally prepared for the holiday, then get in touch with Andrea Burke-Harris. Are you here, Andrea? Yes, Andrea, you need to make yourself much larger because you're at the, no, that was not good enough. You need to stand up, there she is, at the back of the church. So if you can see that far, which I barely can, there she is, definitely talk with her. And let's not forget about the Fun and Fellowship auction. That is coming up. The catalog is going to come out soon. Do we know anything about, can we still offer things for the catalog or is it done? Anybody know? There's Julie Van Wart, who knows everything. Yes. Yes, she is still ready for more things to go in that catalog. So talk to Julie. All right. On Thursday, this Thursday, it's going to be November 11th already. November 11th is Veterans Day, or from where I'm from, it is Remembrance Day. And 11 a.m., we will be holding a Veterans Day service here in the sanctuary with music from our fine musicians and meditations. It'll be a short service, 11 a.m. in the sanctuary for Veterans Day. Next Sunday, yes, there's more. Next Saturday at 2 p.m., we will be holding a little crafty experience. You can make little miniature stockings and mittens to hold gift cards. The gift cards will go to Journeys and Refugee Services, and that's all going to be part of our eventual mitten tree service in December. But we have to make the little gift card holders first. So if you're in the mood to feel crafty, if you're in the mood to get all fellowshipy with your fellowship, and if you're in the mood of extra hospitality for New Buffalonians and refugees, that's going to be a fun event for you. All ages welcome. And now that is so enough from me, but we have a wonderful announcement from our religious education director, Lisa Pietrangelo.
Good morning. I want to let you know about the project that the RE ministry team is offering for the month of November. We will be leading the members of this church in a congregational art project. The title of this project is Peace Begins with Us. As our church goes through changes and challenges, we feel that an intergenerational project is a really good idea. Coming together and creating something beautiful is one way to create healing and bring peace back into our hearts. This project was conceived with a loving intention. So what is it? The project is based on the symbol of peace, which is the origami crane. The goal is for congregants and staff and volunteers to make origami cranes, which will be installed in the parish hall in December. The goal is to make a crane for every person in our congregation. Children, youth, women, men. Ministry teams and advisement committees and other groups are welcome to make a circle of cranes to represent their group. We also invite people to make white cranes in memory of members who have passed. We are who we are because of those who came before us, and we'd like to remember them in this installation. So every Sunday, starting today, there will be 2 tables set up in the parish hall. Each table will have an RE volunteer to help you make your crane. If you know how to make cranes, you are welcome to take a take-home kit and make them at your leisure. If you cannot come to church right now, if there's somebody you know that would like to participate but they're not coming to church right now, make sure they contact me or you get the message to me and I will mail their take-home kit or I will actually drop it off for them. We really want to invite as many people to be involved in this project as possible. The drop-off kit includes many pieces of varied colored origami paper. We will throw in a couple of white pieces for those that want to make remembrance cranes. There's also a part in the take-home kit that is an optional part of this project. During this process, we will be taking photos of people at the crane tables to display along with the installation. We will also be handing out reflection questionnaires to ask questions about your views on peace and your church home. Photos and questionnaires are definitely optional, but we encourage people to use this opportunity to reflect and to offer anonymously their questions answered, the answers to the questions, and we will make a documentation board including the photos and the reflection answers. So how can you participate? Stop by the tables and make a crane. Contribute to origami paper. We're going to need a lot. Any color, any design is fine. Fill out a reflection questionnaire. Volunteer to help with the installation. Volunteer to deliver some take-home kits. We are still maintaining mask wearing and social distancing, only one RE volunteer and 3 congregants at the table at any time. So how can our children participate? They can help with making these cranes because kids can fold and crease and they can really feel a part of that process. If they're very young, we have a template that they can color their own crane, and those will also be put on display so that we know that our young ones were part of this process. Let them make it with their family at home. Do as much as they can. And I thank you for your attention. So please, we're going to be doing this the entire month of November. The installation is going to go out the first week of December, and we're really looking forward to it. It is said that if 1,000 cranes go up, we get a wish. And I think this church needs a wish. So thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Eve Holberg, and I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. Our call to worship is from the Reverend Karen G. Johnson. As we gather this morning, let us be a people of not forgetting. Let us practice holding collective memories that might otherwise slip into that enormous void that sucks at and corrodes any future we hold dear. Let us practice honoring truth-telling up from the past that must come fully into the now, lest we falter and fail, lest the whole remain in pieces. Let not our need for comfort or simplicity, for easy forgiveness or false pardon smother the heartbreak that still needs healing. Let us practice resilience with reckoning. Let us marry memory and promise. Let us dance in the tension we find there. Let us rest in the integrity we cultivate there. Let us be partners with the possibility that emerges there. It is good we gather. Please rise as you are willing and able to join in the words we recite as we light our chalice. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world.
That's what I thought. Okay, now I'm on. All right. Once upon a time, deep in the woods, in a house made entirely out of gingerbread, there lived a witch whose name was Willow. Now, Willow always used her magic for good, so she was a good witch. Well, one day, as Willow was skipping through the forest, she saw a messy trail of breadcrumbs leading through the forest. So she followed it and followed it and followed it, and it led to 2 children. "We're Hansel and Gretel. What do you want?" they asked. Well, my name is Willow, and I've noticed this messy trail of breadcrumbs in the forest that you've been leaving, and I'm a little concerned that the birds and mice will follow it to my house made of gingerbread, and they will eat it all up. Is there any way you would like to help me clean up this mess, and we can go about our days? And the children thought that this was not a good idea at all. Hansel and Gretel took off, leaving Willow to clean up the mess all by herself. But did Willow get angry? Heavens, no, because she was a good witch. Well, Willow continued her skipping through the forest till she got home to her gingerbread house. And what did she see? Hansel and Gretel were munching on her house. Hansel and Gretel, said Willow, please stop eating my house. Said Gretel with her mouth full of gingerbread. It's so tasty. Oh, they must be hungry, thought Willow, and invited them into the house for a good meal. And while Willow was creating the meal with all her most delicious spells in the kitchen, the kids were eating at the table. And she kept pushing out food and pushing out the most delicious things, and she said, leave some for me. But when she'd finished cooking and got to the dining room table, there was nothing left. They'd eaten everything without a thought for her. But did Willow get angry? Heavens, no, because she was a good witch. Well, she didn't have much time to think about her rumbling tummy before the naughty kids got into her magic. They found her spells and her magic wands, and they began to create magic. Well, the magic, they didn't know what they were doing. It grew and grew and grew and grew. Oh, Hansel and Gretel, stop working on my magic. You don't know what you're doing. And Hansel and Gretel responded by deciding that they wanted to have the whole gingerbread house to themselves. Gretel picked up Willow and stuffed her in the oven. And the magic continued. The kids kept wreaking havoc on the house, and the magic grew and grew and grew, and finally the house exploded into a million smithereens. It was made out of gingerbread, after all. Well, Willow stepped out of the oven, and at this point, she was angry. She got her cauldron, she grabbed the kids, she put them in, she grabbed her wand, she stirred it and said a spell. Sugar and spice and all things nice. And poof, the kids turned into 2 gingerbread children. She picked them up, she sat down. She said, it's so tasty, through a mouthful of gingerbread. So you see, Willow wasn't always a good witch.
Every week we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. This month, as we explore the theme of holding history, we are supporting the good work of Our Mommy Village. And here is Shayna Brayton to tell you about it. I'm Broughton. I am so sorry.
Good morning. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm loud in real life. All right, so good morning. My name is Shayna Broughton, and I am the Executive Director of Our Mommy Village, which is doula, lactation, and postpartum support for moms in the community. So I want you to think, 700, just let it roll around in your head. 700 women die in the U.S. each year as a result of pregnancy from mostly preventable diseases, mostly preventable complications during their labor and pregnancy. We need more doulas to support moms and their process during birth through postpartum. What Our Mommy Village does is we support them from preconception all the way through postpartum, including support during nutrition, fitness, and any of those other really high important things like mental wellness and other things that basically keep us supported throughout our lives. Our Mommy Village is addressing mostly preventable deaths by providing access to more holistic options for prenatal care and beyond. This model is a combination of one-on-one and group model care. Our Mommy Village provides personalized care plans that support the mother and her plans once the baby has arrived. So by the time she gets home, she knows exactly what it is that she'll need, and we've already supported her by keeping her prepared throughout. We like to address things from the front end. So if a mom has need while she is pregnant, we address them right away by making sure that she's supported with evidence-based information, but also holistic ways of keeping herself well. We have highly skilled doulas and prenatal and postpartum folks on our team that show moms how to take care of themselves before it becomes a problem. So if you are a mom in this area and you are just trying to figure out how to transition into motherhood, we support you in that way. Our support comes from donations, of course, and from people in the community that have already experienced Our Mommy Village care during their prenatal and postpartum. And I will leave a couple of our brochures in the front so that you can know how to get in contact with us. Thank you.
To support our Share the Plate ministry, you can use PayPal by going to our website, www.buffalouu.org, and clicking on the blue Donate button, or you can send a check by mail to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, 695 Elmwood Avenue, Buffalo 14222, and you can arrange a regular automatic deposit with your bank. If yours is a gift to our Share the Plate ministry, please write SHARE on the memo line, and it will be shared between Our Mommy Village and the church operating budget. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2021 on the memo line. Either way, please write UUCB on the important line, and we will take care of the rest. Thank you for your generosity. Our reading this morning is Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survives, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, the heart that fed them. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
The Romantic poets are almost impossible to read. Certainly silently, and then out loud, sometimes even harder. So thank you. And I'm sorry. Sorry I asked you to do that. So here we go. This is the Sparks Notes. So imagine you're first of all, who has read Ozymandias before, did the whole school thing? Yeah, it's a thing that's happened. We sort of went through it. So imagine, this is what it's saying. You're trudging along in the desert sands of Egypt, and you come across the ruins of some crumbling statue. And all that's left is this half-buried, stone-cold head, leering at you with piercing eyes. It's a face that would have had you quaking in your boots if its hapless mug wasn't face planted directly into the Sahara, some distance away from the wreckage of its body. All that's left standing, all that's left of this once towering, terrifying statue are a pair of feet on a pedestal. And on the pedestal, it reads, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair." And you look around, and there's nothing. There are none of these works. All there is sand and more sand. Once upon a time, about 3,000 years ago, Ozymandias was in considerably better condition. And at that time, he did indeed have something to boast about, one or two things. And at that time, his buddies probably knew him best as Pharaoh Ramses II, often regarded as the greatest, most celebrated, and most powerful pharaoh in ancient Egypt. A tremendous empire and culture now lost in time and tide upon the shores of eternity. And thanks to Shelley, the poet, Ozymandias is also now the greatest, most celebrated, and most powerful examples of the expression, feet of clay. If someone has feet of clay, right? If someone has feet of clay, it means that they may be admired, they may be respected, but they have a hidden or not so hidden flaw. Ozymandias was the greatest, most celebrated, and most powerful ruler of ancient Egypt. But where is he now? Where is his kingdom? Dust in the wind. That's just the way it goes. Some things will never change. I think we can all agree that he was probably a little overconfident. Ozymandias was a little overconfident about his accomplishments. It's a flaw we see in a lot of leaders. Trying to think about something to say about this week, and I have nothing to say about this week. A lot of celebrities, we might say that they have hidden or not so hidden flaws. A lot of politicians, and I suspect you can think of a few examples. You can probably think of a few statues like Ozymandias that have been toppled in the shifting sands of social upheaval. In fact, tearing down statues of flawed icons is a time-honored tradition. In July of 1776, an angry mob of New Yorkers violently took down the statue of King George, and as the story goes, they melted down that statue to make bullets for the Revolutionary War battles. Statues of Joseph Stalin, you remember, after his death, quickly vanished from the former USSR. And in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, statues erected to notorious leaders in the history of white supremacy were torn down by the dozens all over the world. Here's an example. Abraham Lincoln. Who doesn't like Abraham Lincoln, right? Who doesn't like Abraham Lincoln? He's an American icon, about as icon-y as an icon gets. A martyr for life, liberty, peace, justice in the American way. But there was this one statue of Lincoln. There's this one statue of Lincoln in Boston for about 140 years. It stood there, a statue of the good president, standing, hand held in blessing over a kneeling black man. Ouch. Ouch. Knowing what we know today, that nobody should have been enslaved in the first place, knowing that we know what we know today, that Lincoln didn't enter into the Civil War aiming to free anybody, knowing what we know today, this fun fact, that the newly freed slave, who was supposed to be this person he was blessing there, this newly freed slave, was modeled after a guy named Archer Alexander, the last man captured under the heinous Fugitive Slave Act. Knowing all that we know today, that statue of Lincoln, this most iconic of American icons, was also a symbol of systematically supported and enforced racism. The statue, which stood there holding systematic and enforced racism and our history of that, stood there for 140 years. It was time to go. And it did last December. Even good witches aren't good all the time. Even our greatest heroes have feet of clay. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a notorious womanizer. Gandhi slept with his naked teenage grandniece to test his celibacy, which is, you know what, a little creepy. Just saying. Mother Teresa, what could she do wrong, right? Mother Teresa thanked God for the poor so that she could live a life of service, which, as far as I'm concerned, is just a tad downright bent. Even our greatest heroes, the people who have taught us everything, even our greatest heroes have feet of clay, hidden or not so hidden flaws, and so, might I add, do all of we. People are complicated, they are complex, and perfection is not a thing. Clearly, the symbols that we place in the public square tell a story about our past, about who we are today, and what we believe. Or at least these monuments tell a history from the perspective of those who own the public square and those who have the resources to put the statues there in the first place. I am pretty sure that Archer Alexander wouldn't have been so keen about kneeling for 140 years at the foot of a white man, even if that white man was the most iconic of American icons. The history we write, the statues in the square, the fairy tales we tell and retell our children for generations, those all teach us the values and practices of dominant culture. Not everyone's culture, just the dominant and the dominating culture. Perhaps the culture of Ozymandias. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Words written on sand. When revolutions come, American, French, Russian, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, when revolutions come, and they will come, and they do come, when feet of clay are revealed for all the world to see, the statues come down, the symbols change, the stories are reimagined, and the past is tossed onto the scrap heap of old disappointment. And you've heard the question. You've heard the question, and you may have even asked the question. If we tear down the statues, throw them into the river, melt them down for bullets, obliterate them with sledgehammers, if we tear down the statues, are we erasing history? Can we erase history? Do we even want to erase history? Well, the answer to that is yes, sure. Any story can be swept away in an instant, dust in the wind. We conveniently forget and ignore and pretend about our faults, our secrets, our feet of clay every single day. But if we don't reckon with our past, the cracks in the statues of yesterday will creep into today and into our tomorrow. I have begun starting all of our worship services with a territorial acknowledgement, acknowledging that the land upon which our church rests is part of the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee people, original nations of this area who continue to call for justice and self-determination. And I do that because it does us good to reckon with the past and remember how we got to where we are today. It does us good because in telling the truth about the past, we stand a much better chance at healing the wounds that we find ourselves with today. So here we are in this month of November, a month when we tell the story of Veterans Day and remember the cost of war, a month when we tell the story of transgender remembrance, and how people are still being murdered for being just who they are. And the month when we tell the stories of Thanksgiving and survival and religious freedom and genocide of indigenous people. This month of November is a good month to hold history. Hold all our history, all our stories. This is a good month to take the oppressive statues from the public square and put them in museums for all to see, each monument surrounded by a great cloud of witness, by the mother, the child, the soldier, the queer, the dead, the perpetrator, the revolutionary, the bureaucrat, and the hero with the feet of clay. This is the month when we acknowledge, in grateful accountability, yes, that happened. Yes, this is still happening. Acknowledging in grateful accountability and making the changes necessary to reimagine the world. This November, as we explore what it means to be a people holding history, let us be a people of not forgetting, not ignoring, not pretending. Let us practice holding collective memories, holding history, Let us honor truth-telling up from the past that must become into the fully now, lest the beloved community remain painfully broken throughout time. Let not our need for simplicity and comfort, let not our need for easy forgiveness, false pardon, or cheap grace smother the heartbreak that still needs breaking and healing. Let us practice bold compassion with loving accountability, so sacred acts of transformation can arise to heal the world. Let's join in singing. And I'm very excited to say that your hymn is in your hymnal, number 1051. And for those of you who haven't been with us, we haven't been able to use our hymnals because of the pandemic, and now we feel it is safe to do so. Number 1051, We Are. Is it that one? Is it that one? Oh, there we go. We're still getting this thing down. This is rocket science, and I am so grateful to the tech team for everything they have done to keep us alive. Let's join our hearts and minds in a quiet moment of prayer, reflection, and meditation. As we rest here on the forming edge of beginning again, and we are always beginning again. As we form on this edge, you may be feeling hurried and harried. You may be feeling sorrowful and afraid. You may not feel ready to move into the future. You may be just plain exhausted. May we hold each other as we are, as we meet each other in this sanctuary. May we minister to one another and be present to one another with open hearts. As we rest here on this forming age of beginning again, and we are always beginning again, you may be celebrating new triumphs and joys. You may feel whole and happy. You may be eager and excited, ready for the next adventure. May we learn to share our good fortunes with one another, lifting everyone with the love we feel as we begin again and again together. Today, we especially hold in our hearts Fred Turner and the family and friends of Carol Condon. Carol, a wise, warm, and active member of our congregation, passed away last Sunday. A celebration of her life will be held here next Saturday at 10 a.m. We also hold the family and friends of Georgia Pooley in our hearts. We celebrated her lovely life here yesterday in a memorial service. And now let us welcome into our sanctuary of compassion, accountability, memory, and hope the names of all our loved ones suffering in sorrow and celebrating in joy, each name a breath, and each breath a prayer. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The community of love is among us. So be it. Blessed be. And let the church say, Amen. Let's join in singing hymn number 155. Circle Round for Freedom. And that's in your gray hymnal.
Yes. Okay.
For all of us in Christ.
Please remain standing as you're willing and able, and join in reciting the words we use to extinguish our chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
So before I say my benediction, that was the world premiere of a piece written by John Yates. And in case you didn't notice, it was in 8 parts a cappella. What a gift. What a gift. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the limits to their horizon, we still dream. Remember, you're blessed. Remember, you are a blessing. And above all else, remember, you are not alone. You are never alone. So be it, blessed be, and let the church say, Amen.
Testing, testing. Okay, thank you. Fighting for Pharaoh, fighting for Caesar, fighting for good King Arthur, fighting for glory, fighting for power, state or religion, fighting for jurisdiction and territory, dying for freedom, dying for slavery, dying for cotton and for oil and gold, dying for country, dying for honor, dying for God and peace and banners on a pole before we lose our humanity. Let's stop this insanity and turn our children's history books around. Let's do a little living for peace. Not dying, but living for peace. Now history's pages say man through the ages has never run short of war, for he's always found something worth fighting and killing and dying for. Fighting for Pharaoh, fighting for Caesar, fighting for good King Arthur, fighting for glory, fighting for power, state or religion, fighting for jurisdiction and territory, dying for freedom, dying for slavery, dying for cotton and for oil and gold, dying for country, dying for honor, dying for God and peace and banners on a pole before we lose our humanity. Let's stop this insanity and turn our children's history books around. Turn them around. Let's do a little living for peace. Not dying, but living for peace. If every man in every land reached out his hand in understanding,